Welcome back to my video blog for a teaspoon half full. We are continuing on in my series about essential vitamins and minerals, taking it back to the basics of nutrition. Today we are talking about magnesium. Magnesium is a bit of a favourite of mine. It's one of those supplements that I just have to take. I don't take a lot of supplements, but magnesium is definitely on there as something that I do take every day. For some reason, I do have difficulty keeping magnesium in my system, so that's just one of the things that I take regularly. Now, it's believed that about 1/3 of the population is magnesium deficient. It is really hard to be tested for your magnesium levels. There is a little bit in circulation in the blood, but most of magnesium is actually stored in the skeletal system and within the mitochondria of our cells. So it's really hard to test for levels because what's in our blood is not necessarily a reflection of our magnesium state. Conversely, it seems like we have a really good blood balance, we actually might be quite magnesium deficient. So it's really symptoms that we use to test for magnesium deficiency, and if taking a supplement then corrects those symptoms, we know we're looking at a deficiency that needs to be treated. So the recommendation for women is about 310 milligrams per day, and for men it's 400 milligrams per day. Now, this is a guideline. You may think you are getting enough magnesium through your diet, but you're still exhibiting symptoms. It may be that there's some kind of inhibitor in your gut that's stopping you from taking magnesium up. It may be that there's something in your body that's using up a lot of magnesium. You may not be storing it properly. So that's just a general guideline. It's very hard to overdose on magnesium. You need quite a lot. You would need to consume, say, an entire bottle of tablets to start getting the symptoms of toxicity. So don't be afraid to take 2 or 3 magnesium tablets if you are, getting regular cramps or you have restless leg syndrome, difficulty sleeping at night, that kind of thing. But we'll talk a little bit more about the symptoms in a moment. The thing about magnesium supplementation, and I'll show you here, is I've got Blackmore's Bio-Magnesium here, and I have Swiss Magnesium here, because everybody in our family seems to take magnesium, and I have Biomedica Bioactive Magnesium there. This tends to be the kind that naturopaths and holistic practitioners dose out, primarily because it's got other things in it that are good, like B vitamins and zinc and those kind of things. Some of the brands are just strictly magnesium, which is fine if that's if that's just what you want to treat. Some other brands do also have vitamin D3, B vitamins and those kind of things. There's a big discrepancy in those, in how much each one has. It's up to you whether you want to get something that's got 80 milligrams of active magnesium and take 2 tablets twice a day, or whether you want to take something that's a little bit higher and just use it for treatment. For example, if you have just done a big workout, you're going to get cramps in your feet later that night, because that's something that always happens to me. So after a big workout or yoga, when I'm doing a lot of feet balancing, or if I've been wearing heels dancing all night, a couple of magnesiums before I go to bed stops me from getting those late night cramps that just absolutely kill me. So they're either available through your health practitioner, also available in the supermarket. So it's really easy to get a hold of magnesium supplements. But in the spirit of food as medicine, we do need to know where the best sources of magnesium come from naturally. So dark leafy greens are a really good source. The reason is because magnesium is actually bound to the chlorophyll molecule. And as we know, chlorophyll is ubiquitous in green leafy vegetables. So we're talking about your broccoli, your asparagus, your silver beet, your spinach, all those things that have got a lot of chlorophyll tend to have a really high magnesium count. Also, nuts, seeds, whole grains, legumes, anything that's pretty much in its whole form or as whole grain as possible has a really good magnesium count. Fish has also got magnesium, particularly the open water, deep ocean kind of fish can have magnesium in it. Also hard water. So People that live in areas that have a lot of hard water coming through their taps, they tend to have less magnesium deficiency symptoms and tend to have better magnesium levels. That's if they drink a lot of water. Not everybody drinks a lot of water. Speaking of water, mineral water's actually got magnesium in it. And I'm not talking about just the fizzy soda water that you get from the supermarket. I'm talking about real deep spring mineral water that's come up from the earth. And it's generally, those kind of mineral waters tend to come from Europe. That just tends to be what happens. And cacao. Cacao is a really good source. So either your raw chocolate or your dark chocolate that's got a really high cacao content, because magnesium, along with things like copper and manganese and all those kind of things, are found in chocolate. So it's a really good reason to eat that. Now, you could be eating chocolate 3 times a day and still having magnesium deficiency symptoms, which we'll talk about in a moment. But there are a couple of reasons why you could still be deficient if you think you're eating enough. These are factors that inhibit your ability to absorb or take up the nutrients. One of them is age, specifically the age of your gastrointestinal tract. So your stomach acidity goes down with age as you get older, so you're less able to break down the particularly fiber-rich foods that are rich in magnesium. You're also less able to absorb them in the small intestine. Another factor to consider is the amount of magnesium you're eating. You may be eating lots of fresh leafy greens, but if they're coming from depleted soils, you're going to be lacking magnesium in those leafy greens. Also, the type of magnesium you're consuming. Something else to consider is your pre-existing magnesium status. Unfortunately, with magnesium, there's a double-edged sword that occurs. If you are magnesium deficient, it causes a stress factor in your body, and it actually inhibits your ability to take up more magnesium. Similarly, if you're very stressed, stress produces cortisol, and cortisol inhibits your magnesium uptake. So if you're magnesium deficient and you think you're eating lots of foods that are rich in magnesium, but you still are magnesium deficient, a supplement is going to be the way to go to get you back to a level playing field. Something also to consider is the existence of disease. So if you're unwell, if you are genuinely sick, then your magnesium status is going to be affected, and your ability to take up the nutrients is going to be affected. Like I said before, deficiency causes deficiency with this mineral. And also malabsorption syndrome. So if you've got any kind of gut inflammatory disease, if you've got things like Crohn's, or if you have some kind of chronic allergy that affects your digestion, that's going to inhibit your magnesium uptake as well. So there are a couple of factors that come into play there. So, am I magnesium deficient? What are the symptoms of magnesium deficiency? There are a couple of factors, a couple of things that can occur concurrently, things that can occur standalone that may benefit from supplementation. One of them is growth failure or slowing of growth in children, also colic in children. Colic is exacerbated by the cramping and the contraction of the gut, so magnesium can help relax that muscle contraction. Any kind of cramping that you may get, cramping in the hands and feet at night. You may wake up in the middle of the night with one of those horrible calf cramps that you just can't deal with. The slow, dull ache of period pain. Also PMS can benefit from magnesium supplementation. You may have an eye twitch which exhibits signs of deficiency. Anything that's brought on by muscular tension, so headaches, migraines, irritability, they can all benefit from magnesium supplementation. The way magnesium actually works is it works antagonistically with calcium. So your muscles contract under the act of calcium. Magnesium helps them relax. So what magnesium does is it modulates the activity of calcium. It keeps it balanced, it keeps it regular. Calcium's all about contraction and nerve stimulation and nerve excitability, which causes muscle contraction, spasm, cramp, that kind of thing. Magnesium comes along and restores the resting membrane potential. So it takes it back to neutral and causes our nerves to relax. It causes our muscles to relax. And that's why it's really helpful. And it's one of the things that naturopaths often prescribe for people who say that they're having difficulty falling asleep. They say, look, take a magnesium supplement. This is where we're going to start. Take 2 of these before you go to bed, about half an hour to an hour before you go to bed, because it helps your body come back to a resting state so that you are then able to go to sleep. So they're just some of the deficiency symptoms. So magnesium, why is it so important? Why do we use so much of it? Where is it found? What is it doing in our body? There's so many things. Okay, so apart from the fact that it's really important in blood clotting and immune function, it also plays a critical role in the mineralization and the structure and the strength of our skeletal system and the growth of our skeletal system. First of all, magnesium is stored in a reservoir, mostly on the surface of the bone. So if our blood levels of magnesium drop, cells tend to break down the bone to release magnesium from the reservoir back into the blood. So if you have a chronic deficiency of magnesium, you are more likely to have a weakened bone structure, or be more prone to breakage because you have less of that hardness on the surface. Also, magnesium is important in the activity of vitamin D metabolites. Vitamin D metabolites are important for taking calcium from the digestive tract and applying it to the bones, and you need magnesium for those vitamin D metabolites to kick into gear. Also, magnesium is important for the secretion and action of parathyroid hormone, which is also really important in the formation of bone material. So a chronic deficiency in magnesium has been indicated in symptoms like osteoporosis. So it's really important for our bones as well. It's literally involved in hundreds and hundreds of enzyme systems in the body as a catalyst, as a stabilizer for all these reactions that occur. One of the really important ones is the production of adenosine triphosphate. ATP is the energy molecule of the body. It's produced in the cells, and then the cells in the mitochondria, that is. So it's produced in the cells, and then the body then uses this ATP as its base unit of energy. Magnesium is required for the reaction that turns ADP into ATP. It stabilizes that reaction. With a deficiency in magnesium, you are less likely to have, or you have less instances of that reaction occurring successfully. Now, magnesium has a really interesting relationship with potassium. In fact, a deficiency of magnesium can cause a deficiency in potassium by increasing the amount of potassium that's excreted in the urine. Now, they've both been indicated in heart arrhythmias, which are potentially dangerous. Potassium helps regulate the heart rhythm or the heartbeat and the frequency of the beat. And those who are admitted to hospital with hypokalemia, of those people admitted, about 40% of them have been found to have chronic magnesium deficiency. So they're very closely linked. In terms of the cardiovascular system and blood pressure regulation, magnesium is really important for keeping our blood pressure stabilized, because it has, as I mentioned before, that ability to cause a relaxation of the muscles. Now, in the cardiovascular system, every vessel and every artery and every capillary looks like this. Through the action of calcium and sodium, we can cause a contraction of the blood vessels, and what that does is it causes an increase in blood pressure, which we know is dangerous to a degree. And magnesium causes the muscle that lines every artery and every capillary and every blood vessel to relax, which causes our blood pressure to drop, which is good news. So magnesium is really important for blood pressure stabilization, which is a really good thing to know, because we know that calcium has a really important role in blood pressure regulation. It's a really important mineral to consider when we're talking about pregnancy-induced hypertension or preeclampsia. Both magnesium and calcium have been indicated as deficiencies or as unbalanced levels when we're talking about preeclampsia. Magnesium helps modulate the calcium. It also helps mobilize it from bone and also to take it up in the body. In many instances of calcium deficiency can't be rectified without first rectifying the magnesium deficiency. So you could be taking a calcium supplement, be magnesium deficient, and not be restoring your calcium balance. And finally, it's really important for management of muscle contraction and the transmission of nerve impulses. It gives us the opposite end of the contraction spectrum, brings us back to our resting state, a relaxed state, a neutral, balanced nervous system state, and without it, our nerve system and our neuromuscular junctions end up in this state of hyperexcitability that, they're constantly firing, they keep the muscles contracted, they keep things tense, and magnesium helps bring us back to a stable state. Now, that brings me to the end of my little magnesium presentation. I hope you found it as interesting as I do. I think the human body is just fascinating, and I could just talk about it forever. Just to recap, it's thought that over a third of the population is magnesium deficient in some way. Do consider taking a supplement if you are getting headaches, if you have cramping, if you have difficulty getting to sleep at night, restless leg syndrome, that kind of thing. If you're growing a tiny little person, if you exercise frequently, it may be a good idea to get on a supplement. Next video, I'm going to be talking about vitamin D. Just as interesting as magnesium, and has such a broad spectrum of roles. So please come back and check out that video, and I'll see you soon.